During the Double 11 livestream sale, my husband's clueless secretary volunteered for the job. Mr. Fu, you have to believe I can handle it this time. Completely taken in by her, my husband insisted on putting her in charge of the livestream control room. The highly motivated hosts were ready for action, each passionately pitching their products. The clock struck 11:11. And every live streamer in their broadcast room shouted in unison that the product was live. The next second, the link, originally priced at $999, sold 1 million units at the rock bottom price of $99. I knew it then, my husband's company was truly finished. One, in my past life, to stop Tangwan from causing a scene in the control room, I ignored my husband's repeated warnings and threats and insisted on kicking her out. Our live stream sales broke 100 million, yet my husband furiously asked me for a divorce. It was a perfect opportunity for a rookie to gain experience, but you just had to butt in. I tried to explain, telling him I saw with my own eyes Tangwan change the price tag to $99, but he just shoved me to the ground. The company's live stream hosts stepped forward to testify on my behalf, each presenting evidence of Tangwan's previous mistakes in listing incorrect products and prices on the central control system. Upon reviewing the evidence, the other directors of the company ordered the legal department to recover the losses. Unable to repay her 3 million yuan debt, Tangwan leaped from the rooftop of her company building to avenge Tangwan. My husband locked me in the freezer of the company warehouse and left me to freeze to death. Zhou Qingye, it's just 3 million, you used to hand out 3 million in fan benefits without batting an eye, so why are you singling out Tangwan like this? Since you care so much about those products, I'll make sure you and your precious goods are buried with Tangwan. Let's see who would ever buy products associated with a corpse. I was frozen to death in the cold storage room, my entire body turning blue and purple. Before I died, I swore that if I could do it all over again, I would never stop Tangwan from messing with the prices again. When I opened my eyes again, I couldn't believe it. I had actually gone back to the day of the Double 11 livestream. Qingye, Mr. Fu said we absolutely have to let Tangwan into the control center. This is a transaction worth over 1 billion in traffic, otherwise, it's your call. Don't let Tangwan in. Watching Tangwan peering curiously through the glass door, I couldn't help but shiver for a moment. After locking eyes with me, Tangwan pushed open the glass door with wide, glaring eyes. Qingye, I knew you wouldn't go against Mr. Fu's wishes. He said if I can lead this control room operation well, it'll look great on my resume, promotions and raises will be within reach. Before I could even speak, Tangwan raised her phone, which was on a video call. Mr. Fu, see, I told you. Qingye isn't as cold-hearted as you said. I might be a bit clumsy, but I promise I'll give it my all. The colleague beside me frowned uncomfortably. Qingye, before her colleague could stop her, Tangwan flipped her phone to point the angry face of Fu roaming directly at me. Zhou Qingye, put away that petty desire to take credit. This Double 11, we must give a chance to the newcomers. I didn't reply, but Tangwan leaned closer to the screen with a smile, pouting playfully. Mr. Fu, for newcomers like us, we really need more support and promotion, though Sister Qingye always likes to put new hires down. With you here this time, she definitely won't do that. Even the rookie streamers who weren't scheduled to go on air were nodding in agreement. That's right, Sister Qingye. Chairman Fu said we should give newcomers a chance. Double 11 is prime time for making money and boosting performance metrics. You can't just hand all the opportunities to the veterans you mentor. Tang Wan playfully stuck her tongue out at the screen, and instantly, a work notification popped up on everyone's phone. Double 11 livestream host rotation announcement. Out of 27 livestream rooms, only the 5 veteran hosts I mentor were kept on. The new streamers cheered with excitement upon seeing the notification. Before rushing into the live broadcast room, they threw a big heart gesture toward Tangwan. Tangwan awkwardly squeezed past her colleagues and hunched her shoulders. As she settled in front of the central control screen, I clenched my fists tightly but still held back my anger, not uttering a word. I'd love to see if you can still laugh this happily when billions in profit turn into tens of billions in losses too. Seeing that I remained silent, Tangwan pursed her lips in displeasure. Qingye, you used to be so against me entering the control room. Every time I stepped in, you'd squawk like a squeaky chicken, non-stop. Now that the squeaky chicken's gone quiet, today, I'm actually feeling a bit unaccustomed to it. She rested her face in her hands, but her elbow accidentally pressed the all-channel call button. The streamers who heard her remark all struggled to suppress their smiles on camera, yet Tangwan, as if unaware, turned to me with a bright smile. I heard that you, Sister Qingye, made your fortune through live streaming sales, Mr. Fu told me that back then, to go viral. You even ate a cow dung hot pot and washed it down with canned fermented herring soup. After eating that, your breath probably smells like a sewer. You're gonna have to sleep a good 800 meters away from Mr. Fu when you get home tonight. Ha 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 ha. No wonder everyone says the CEO's bed must be 800 meters away. It's probably to avoid Sister Qingye with her stench of feces. But it seems Sister Qingye doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Hasn't President Fu been away from home for over half a year now? Tang Wan feigned a look of innocent confusion and smiled. On the central control screen, a few new streamers who had just joined the platform even burst into laughter right in front of the camera. Fu Rongding hadn't been home in over half a year, and Tang Wan had joined the company around the same time. When the two of them started flirting at work, I chose to endure for the sake of the company's reputation. I never expected that my efforts, playing the fool to boost traffic so Fu Rongding could gain a foothold online, would end up being turned into a joke by his own mouth. The laughter blasting through her headphones grew louder and louder, jolting Tang Wan back to reality. She finally lifted her arm from the button. Qingye, why is this a broadcast to all channels? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is my first time handling a major event like Singles Day. I'm such a newbie. I kept a cold expression and didn't feel like responding. The broadcast alarm on the desk went off. Tang Wan didn't even greet the streamers and directly flipped the live switch. A few veteran streamers scrambled to adjust their on-camera presence, while the rest continued to laugh and chat on screen. After realizing they were live, they even playfully leaned in to make funny faces at the camera. I opened my phone, stared at Fu Rongding's work transfer notice, and without hesitation, marked all the veteran anchors I managed, including myself, as on leave. Fu Rongding didn't hesitate, immediately approved everyone's requests, then, as if taking revenge, changed my vacation to an absence, and later screenshot it and publicly criticized me in the group chat. Managers like Zhou Qing, who throw tantrums, act irresponsibly, and suppress newcomers, must be dealt with seriously. For this year's Double 11, all central control operations will be led by Tang Wan. Tang Wan, entrusted with a major responsibility, replied in the group chat with a strained voice, "Thank you for your trust, Mr. Fu. I won't let you down. I'll move heaven and earth to make sure you turn a profit." Tang Wan's antics gave me the creeps. Seeing the absent status on my phone, I settled into a corner of the control room, a smirk tugging at my lips. The veteran streamer, marked as on leave, didn't hesitate for a second and promptly exited the live broadcast room. Qingye, thank goodness you saved us. Missing our targets this time is one thing, but if this had turned into a broadcast incident, I don't even want to think about the fines. A sardonic smile tugged at the corner of my mouth as I surveyed the roster of complete novices in my past life. If I hadn't intervened, the broadcast disaster orchestrated by Tang Wan would have cost over $1 billion. So I'm genuinely curious, since Fu Rongding is so infatuated with Tang Wan, whether he'd actually shoulder this multi-billion debt for her. 3. As the minutes ticked by, the product that was supposed to be introduced in 5 minutes was haltingly presented for over 10. The product that the brand had paid a premium for to be highlighted was rushed through in just 5 or 6 minutes by the new streamer, who couldn't memorize the product description. The live stream, which had been hyped up to over 100,000 viewers, plummeted to less than 10,000 due to the host's lack of experience. The comment section was flooded with complaints, hilarious, talking about the hygiene and eco-friendliness of tissues, then bringing up that papermaking uses old fishing nets. Does the streamer have no education and no brain? Ha. You're out here grinning and recommending soda while telling us bigger folks to drink less. We paid for this stuff. Who asked for your 2 cents? You sales clerk. I sat to the side, watching Tang Wan frantically adjust the data on the control panel. Her phone kept ringing off the hook, all calls from angry brand partners demanding answers in a desperate bid to stabilize the traffic numbers. I watched helplessly as she poured all the operational ad budget into the live stream with the lowest viewership. When Fu Rongding couldn't reach Tang Wan, he called me instead, remembering what he'd said about giving the new hires room to operate. I just turned my phone off. Only after the data had somewhat stabilized did Tang Wan dare to pick up her phone. Faced with the brand's accusations, she didn't apologize or try to make amends. Instead, she broke down into uncontrollable sobs over the phone. I didn't want this to happen either. I'm just a newbie. Can't you cut a newcomer some slack? The brand representative exploded in anger. We poured tens of millions into this Singles Day campaign. If we give you a break, who's going to give us one? Are you going to cover our losses? Tang Wan, who had been scolded, didn't dwell on it. She simply hung up the phone in anger. She tried calling Fu Rongding back, but his phone was completely unreachable. In the end, she just laid her head on the desk and cried. A colleague beside me gasped, "They're pulling products. So many brands are pulling their items, Qingya. All the low-margin gimmick products have been removed, yeah, Qingya. Maybe you should check your phone, Mr. Fu posted something in the group chat." My colleagues stared at each other, phones in hand, their faces ashen. I waved a dismissive hand, utterly unfazed by how vicious Fu Rongding's tirade in the group chat was. I'd heard far worse from him in my past life. Back when I had Tang Wan thrown out of the control room with my arms around the shoulders of a few veteran streamers, I ignored Tang Wan, whose sobs grew louder from her chair. Finally, this all-nighter got turned into a holiday. Sisters are treating you to coffee. Our laughter and chatter stood in stark contrast to Tang Wan. It was only when I was bored out of my mind in the coffee shop that I turned my phone back on. Fu Rongding recreated the group chat with the brand team, but Tang Wan wasn't included. Zhou Qingya, as the head of the livestream team, you bear undeniable responsibility for this broadcast incident. You must now present a viable solution to the brand. 04 brands didn't even bother to think twice. They started tagging me one by one in the group chat. You're the head of the live streaming team, right? Don't you know how crucial Singles Day is for brand promotions? A bunch of useless streamers in the live room can't even get their ad copy right. Did you blow the hundreds of thousands in slot fees on a trip to the mental hospital to get your brains checked? What's worse, they'd send a full 60-second voice message without warning. Is your company seriously still doing those damn live streams, telling customers an 89 yuan eyeliner isn't expensive? And you have the nerve to openly challenge them. You're not blind, you can see the commission, right? You're so desperate to take food off our table that you'd throw away your own meal ticket, is that it? Faced with the barrage of messages in the group chat, as the admin, I immediately muted everyone. Then, I posted a screenshot showing I had been removed from my position. Sorry, but I genuinely had no idea about the situation with the live control room. Mr. Fu, you personally arranged the team for today's Double 11 event. You can't just pin the blame on me when things go south, can you? And another thing, Mr. Fu, I don't even care that you pissed off the brand partner and ruined Double 11 for Tang Wan's sake. I've left the divorce papers on your desk. Don't forget to sign them. After the mute was lifted, a deathly silence fell over the group chat. Fu Rongding's call came even faster than I'd anticipated. I answered and immediately held the phone away from my ear. Zhou Qingya, are you out of your mind? It was just taking a little heat for Tang Wan. You're the head of the livestream team. She's just a rookie. You dare say you bear no responsibility at all? And what the hell is this divorce agreement? With all those brand reps in the group, you bring up divorce with me. Are you trying to ruin me? When the other end finally fell silent, I pressed the phone to my ear. Fu Rongding, I advise you to sign it now. The divorce terms are all in your favor. I only want the villa in Qingshan. Don't wait until I expose more, or you'll regret it so much you won't even be able to cry. After finishing our coffee, I casually walked back to the office with a few streamers in the control room. Tang Wan saw me through the glass door, holding a document and walking toward me with a bright smile. This is the divorce agreement signed by Mr. Fu, fresh and hot, to keep Sister Qingya from worrying any further. Mr. Fu even included a dismissal letter for you, so she can keep enjoying her coffee downstairs in peace. Looking at the two contracts, I suppressed the smile tugging at my lips, and as I glanced at Tang Wan's smug expression, I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow in quiet delight. Oh, and Qingya, for this year's Double 11, Mr. Fu has already decided to go with my new plan. We won't be selling branded goods, only fresh produce from our own partnered suppliers. Facing Tang Wan's blatant provocation, I shrugged indifferently. Whatever, I don't care if you sell your dad or your mom. Sure enough, as soon as 11:11 arrived, no matter whether Tang Wan changed the price like she had in the previous life or not, Fu Rongding was destined for nothing but total financial ruin. 5. Tang Wan was momentarily stunned by my retort. Just as I was clutching the contract and preparing to leave, two rookie streamers who should have been live on air burst out. Zhou Qingya, you're just walking away without a care. Now that you're quitting, do you have any idea you've cost all of us our commissions for everything we streamed today? I frowned. Because of me, it's all because of you that Mr. Fu had to cancel the brand collaboration. Don't you dare deny it. Wasn't it because you posted about getting a divorce in the group chat? Brands are all about reputation these days. By posting this, Aren't you just trying to get back at us because you know you're going to be kicked out of Double 11? I let out a helpless laugh. So the brand only cares about its reputation and my love story with Mr. Fu, right? The host's product presentation is all over the place, the promotion lacks any emotional intelligence, and the traffic is being thrown into the pool randomly. None of that matters, huh? The two anchors stammered under my questioning, staring at me blankly. When the control center was called out, Tangwan still looked unconvinced. We're all newbies, making mistakes on a big project like this is totally normal, Qingye. You don't have to keep picking on our errors. Besides, if you hadn't announced your divorce from Mr. Fu in the group chat, the brand would have definitely been more understanding. The truth is, they're just uneasy about senior management bringing up divorce during work hours. I was stunned by Tangwan's logic. Alright then, if you're saying you're divorcing because of me, should I just tear up the divorce papers? I made a move to tear up the divorce papers, but Tangwan stopped me firmly. So what if we don't have brand partnerships? Mr. Fu has already agreed to my proposal to switch to our company's own products. I looked at Tangwan as if she were a clown. With a cold, exasperated expression, I slapped her hand away. If you're going to stream, then get your ass back on stream and do it properly. Being the first to constantly drop offline during a Double 11 sale, that's a new low. Even for you people. After leaving the office, I rushed to the law firm. I managed to submit all the documentation and evidence concerning my marital relationship with Fu Rongding and the company's operations just before the lawyer's office closed for the day. After receiving the lawyer's firm assurance that the company's bankruptcy wouldn't implicate me personally, the knot of anxiety that had been tightening in my chest finally began to loosen. The livestream host seemed completely out of their depth, like a duck being forced onto a perch. The post-work rush hour, which should have been a peak traffic period, and with the Double 11 hype on top of it, was pulling in less than half the usual viewership. Following Tangwan's lead, some newbie streamers have started playing the sympathy card, spinning sob stories on the spot. From a worn-out mat to a bald head, they can fabricate any ailment imaginable. When the clock finally struck midnight on Double 11, the livestream host finally breathed a sigh of relief and shouted, "It's live." I stared at my phone screen, and just as expected, the link for the 9.9 deal popped right up. 6. The company's Qingdao prawns were sold in 2 million units at 9.9 yuan for 3 caddies with free shipping by Tangwan. This was just the sales volume from one live streaming room. The comment section went wild. 9.9 for £3. If I don't buy 100 orders, I'm betraying my shrimp-loving soul. Ha ha ha. I used a clicker for 2 minutes and grabbed over 300 orders. Gotta say, FY Live is seriously generous. I looked at the staggering sales figures and could already picture Fu Rongding's furious face. Back when I first started live streaming sales, I had no idea how to create or manage product links, let alone adjust prices or negotiate profit margins with the brands. That night, I earned 2 million in ad revenue, but because I messed up the pricing, I had to grit my teeth and tell my fans on camera that I'd be covering 3 million out of my own pocket to make up for it. The $3 million price slashing strategy made me an overnight sensation. But that night, Fu Rongding stared at the brand's $1 million overdue notice and smoked all night. Zhou Qingye, not making money is one thing, but a whole million, what do you have for a brain? A pig's. As the business grew bigger, I became increasingly strict and demanding about live streaming, yet I never expected that Fu Rongding actually still loved the silly ones the most. The phone kept ringing non-stop, so I just turned it off and got a good night's beauty sleep. It wasn't until the next morning that I went to the office to handle my resignation and handover. As soon as I entered the company, I realized the entire office was filled with a heavy, oppressive atmosphere, especially the live streaming team, which was usually buzzing with activity, now completely empty. I took the elevator upstairs to find HR, and as soon as the doors opened, a document flew out from beside me. Are you an idiot, Tangwan? You listed it at 9.9 instead of 49.9, and it took you 3 whole minutes to pull the link. Do you have any idea how much money you've just cost the company? In all my years as CEO, this is the first time I've seen Fu Rongding turn beet red with rage. Tangwan shrank back timidly. Mr. Fu, it's my first time in the central control department. Newcomers need some room for error, right? What the hell do you mean, room for error? Whose room for error? Costs over $1 billion, you're losing 40 per order, and that single link sold 6 million units. Fu Rongding wasn't covering for Tangwan anymore. He pointed a finger right at her face and started yelling, that money is gone for good, every single one of you responsible will be sued by our legal department. Tangwan wiped her tears, accidentally locking eyes with me. She immediately yanked me forward. Mr. Fu, isn't Qingye at fault here too? If she hadn't made a scene about the divorce in front of the brand, they wouldn't have pulled the product at all, having found someone to pin the blame on. The group immediately turned on him. Exactly, Mr. Fu, they chimed in. Using our own products was a last resort. If Zhou hadn't pressured the brands to pull their items, we never would have lost this much. I couldn't be bothered to argue. I just picked up the phone and called the brand directly. This is Zhou Qingye from FY Live. I'm currently in the process of resigning, but before I hand things over, I wanted to ask, for this Double 11, does anyone have any feedback or suggestions regarding the live streams? 07, feedback. You're asking for feedback when you can't even properly explain the products. If it weren't for you incompetent streamers who can't articulate a single sentence clearly, what brand would need to issue a composition statement during Double 11, especially that idiot in charge of the control room? I just found out from operations yesterday that they dumped all the promotion budget into those sob story live streams. Do you not realize we're a luxury brand? The stream of profanity from the other end of the line grew filthier, lasting a full 10 minutes. Unwilling to back down, Tangwan snatched the phone. Isn't the real reason you pulled the product line because Zhou Qingye is going through a messy divorce? There was a stunned silence for a few seconds, then the shouting got louder. Who the hell cares if you're divorced or not, even if you married 100 concubines? What's it got to do with me? This is about the live stream. You people from FY have lost your minds. The dial tone buzzed in my ear as Fu Rongding stood before me, his face ashen. I know the broadcast incident wasn't your fault, but you're still the head of the live streaming team. I expect you to take responsibility. I frowned in confusion for a moment before it clicked. Oh, responsibility, absolutely. I was absent on Double 11, so remember to dock my perfect attendance bonus this month. As for the severance package, Zhou Qingye, the company, is fighting for its very survival, and you're cracking jokes. I'm not joking. You signed the divorce papers yesterday. Remember, the company is yours now, which means the debt is yours too. Is it a crime for me to find some amusement in a situation that has nothing to do with me? Fu Rongding's face turned as pale as snow at the thought of the divorce agreement. Tangwan, oblivious to the danger, pressed closer. Sister Qingye, that's a loss of over $1 billion. How can you bear to let President Fu shoulder it all alone? I smiled and curled my lip. Of course I couldn't bear to let him repay it all alone. So isn't this divine favor, sending him a child? If one generation can't pay it back, then two will. Someday, it'll be settled. Fu Rongding snapped back to reality, rushing forward to support me. Qingye, you're pregnant. Not me, it's your rookie little secretary. I pulled out the ultrasound report that had been tucked inside yesterday's divorce papers and handed it to Fu Rongding with a beaming smile. The baby is already 3 months along. My doctor friend says the ultrasound shows it's a big, healthy boy. Tangwan's face went pale as she desperately tried to snatch back the report. No, that's not it, Mr. Fu. This child isn't yours. No, I'm not even pregnant at all. Faced with billions in debt, Tangwan's only thought was to sever ties with Fu Rongding as quickly as possible. 08. Fu Rongding's face froze instantly, then he stared daggers at Tangwan. Are you pregnant or not? Tell me the truth. Terrified, Tangwan crouched down, covering her head. I'm not pregnant. I just wanted to get a rise out of Zhou Qingye, who told her to cling to the title of Mrs. Fu and never let go. Fu Rongding gave a stiff nod, gritting his teeth. He pulled out his phone and called the legal department. Due to a major personal error by Tangwan, head of the live streaming team, which resulted in actual losses of 1.6 billion, she is to provide compensation within the deadline. Failure to do so will result in immediate legal action. I watched all this coldly. Suddenly, I remembered my past life. When Fu Rongding found out Tangwan was saddled with 3 million in debt, his first thought wasn't to help her pay it off. Instead, he resented me for exposing her. Upon hearing Fu Rongding's decision, Tangwan's face went pale. She looked around in utter bewilderment. Why are you coming after me for the debt? I have absolutely nothing to do with Fu Rongding. With a chime, a lawyer's statement popped up on everyone's phone. All the rookie streamers who entered the live broadcast yesterday, whose brand withdrawals resulted in losses exceeding 500,000, are being held liable by Fu Rongding for professional negligence. The small-time streamer who was making a fuss yesterday went weak in the knees and collapsed to the floor. Mr. Fu, We only went live with your permission. Everything we did in the stream was approved by Tang Wan. What does the brand withdrawal have to do with us? That's nonsense. You're the ones who changed the live stream format first without consulting anyone. I only agreed to your content changes because I had no other choice. Besides, the company's losses are the company's problem. They're the result of your own poor decisions. Fu Rongding, why should we be held accountable for your mistakes? With a defiant look on her face, Tang Wan threw her employee badge to the ground. I quit. I'm resigning. I have absolutely nothing to do with those billions in debt. The other new hires followed Tang Wan's lead, throwing their badges down as well. Yeah, we quit. We shouldn't have been the ones in the live stream room yesterday in the first place. Manager Fu forced us to go on air. We're new hires who still need training, and the company is just exploiting us. We're done. Fu Rongding pointed a trembling finger at the crowd, too furious to speak. So you want to resign, is that it? Fine, every single one of you can expect a letter from my lawyer. One after another, the new anchors left, leaving only the veteran anchor I had mentored standing firm. Before Fu Rongding could even speak, several of them pulled out their resignation letters. Mr. Fu, since the company is about to go bankrupt, we'd better not stay and add to your burden. Wishing you all the best. Fu Rongding stared with bloodshot eyes until HR took the final resignation letter. Zhou Qingya, you can't leave. FY was built by us. How can you abandon me now? You built these accounts from the ground up. Your followers trust you more than anyone. Go do some damage control. Help me get those refunds processed. If the losses aren't too steep, I swear I can make a comeback. 09 I sidestepped to avoid Fu Rongding's grasping hand. A comeback, Mr. Fu. I've already sent the board all the evidence of how you've been embezzling company funds for years. Did you really think your debts were any smaller than Tang Wan's? And since you need to pay up, I'm all for giving new talent a chance. It's not just Tang Wan. In a few months, if she can deliver that baby, the child will surely help you settle your debts too. Newborns are the freshest recruits, brimming with potential. Someone like me, who enjoys putting down newcomers, definitely shouldn't join you and Tang Wan. Fu Rongding stared wide-eyed without a word, his chest heaving violently. The elevator chimed once more, and several directors, their faces flushed with anger, immediately launched into a furious tirade the moment they laid eyes on Fu Rongding. Fu Rongding, embezzling over 80 million in company funds. How dare you cause this mess during Double 11? If you don't give us an explanation today, we won't let you off easy. Fu Rongding was completely surrounded by the board members. The HR and finance heads exchanged a glance, then used the last of the company's funds to pay out salaries and the N+1 severance packages. 9 for 3 Gina prawns trended on social media. Fu Rongding forced a smile for the cameras, declaring, FY Entertainment has long had its own fresh produce supply chain. This is our very own freezing facility, with a stockpile of a full 300,000 kilograms. We guarantee every customer who snagged the prawn deal will get their share. I tapped my temple and shook my head with a wry smile. In my past life, when Fu Rongding locked me in the cold storage, all the shrimp stored inside had already spoiled. The stench of decay reminded me of the time Tang Wan accompanied Fu Rongding on a business trip. To get the freshest shrimp, she directly ordered the workers to temporarily disable the quick freeze function. I didn't pay much attention to such things back then. It was only later, when Tang Wan came to boast to me about eating live shrimp for 3 whole days, that I learned the cold storage had been shut down for her for exactly that long. On the TV screen, Fu Rongding slowly pushed open the cold storage door. A foul, fishy odor made the reporter stagger back several steps. My God, this is practically a preservation facility for rotten meat. Is FY treating consumers like a garbage disposal site? Can people even eat this stuff? Reporters scrambling for a headline rushed in and pointed their cameras at crates of moldy shrimp inside. The trending topic about callous disregard for human life skyrocketed. Fu Rongding checked the boxes one by one in disbelief. No, it can't be. These shrimp were from a month ago. The truth dawned on him. He pulled out his phone and snarled through gritted teeth. Tang Wan, when you shut down the cold storage half a month ago, just how many days was it off for? There was no answer from Tang Wan's end. She simply hung up the phone. 10 Fu Rongding had no time to vent his anger. He began shooing the reporters away one by one. Stop filming. All of you, stop. There's nothing wrong with this shipment. This is all fresh stock from half a month ago. Inside the vast cold storage room, a game of cat and mouse immediately began. As soon as the last journalist finished filming and rushed out, Several people instinctively slammed the heavy door shut, trapping Fu Rongding inside the freezer for good. The door thudded under his frantic pounding, but the journalists paid no mind. That freezer's clearly broken, no refrigeration at all, the shrimp's already spoiled, he's the one running this shady operation. Locking him in there for a bit won't kill him. The journalists drifted away in small groups, leaving Fu Rongding alone to struggle inside. The helplessness and despair I felt in my past life. Finally, he gets a taste of it himself. After the divorce decree was finalized, Fu Rongding was still lying in the hospital. The freezer had left him paralyzed from the waist down. To make matters worse, at that very moment in the same hospital, Tang Wan had also scheduled an abortion procedure. After pushing Fu Rongding into the obstetrics and gynecology department, I watched Tang Wan, clutching her lower abdomen with a satisfied look, and whispered a worse piece of news into Fu Rongding's ear. You have oligospermia, your whole life has been plagued by fertility issues, now you're paralyzed and have lost the child. You've got nothing left to hope for. Fu Rongding's eyes blazed with fury as he wheeled himself straight toward Tang Wan, and the two of them began to grapple like madmen. Fu Rongding, you're a worthless good-for-nothing. What are you without Tang Wan? You drove such a huge company into the ground. It's no wonder you ended up paralyzed from the waist down. Fu Rongding wasn't about to back down either. She slapped Tang Wan hard several times. If you hadn't seduced me, how could I have broken up with Zhou Qing? You're so greedy for wealth and status, you aborted my child, now I'll kill you. I gracefully walked out of the hospital in my high heels. A text message confirming successful phone registration popped up, and I smiled as I opened the live streaming team's group chat. Girls, you didn't get a chance to shine this double 11. Next month, during double 12, no one's allowed to let me down. End of text. That's all for the first story. Stay tuned, because the next one is even more exciting. Li Jingqiang accidentally fell from the balcony outside the emergency room. The doctor said that even if he survived, he would be paralyzed from the neck down. My husband managed to say a few words to me with difficulty. I cried as I told the doctor. He said he'd rather die than live as a cripple. Sign, remove the tube. 5 minutes later, he was wheeled into the morgue. 20 years, and this day has finally arrived. On the way to the funeral home, I answered a call from Jiang Xiaoting, a student from a low-income family whom my husband had been supporting for over a decade. In my phone, I have her saved as the other woman. I pursed my lips, holding back the smile that threatened to spread across my face, and tried to stay calm as I answered the call. Mom, on the other end of the line. Jiang Xiaoting's voice was sweet and soft. She's supposed to be a second-year grad student, yet she still acts like a child, pouting and being clingy. I'm not really used to it, because she's always gone straight to Li Jingqiang, treats me as her mom, with just a token of respect. What's up? I asked calmly. She asked me where Dad had gone, why he wasn't replying to texts or answering calls. The new school year was starting. She needed money for tuition, living expenses, the study abroad trip to Europe, all sorts of fees. I had my phone on speaker. She kept calling him Dad over and over. Even the driver could tell something was off from her tone and the strange look on her face. I listened quietly as she listed over a dozen expenses, totaling around 100,000. Poor thing, struggling like this, truly broke, unable to come up with that kind of money. I stayed silent, and she grew impatient. Forget it, you're not well educated, so you wouldn't understand. Even if I explained, when you see Dad, tell him to call me, I replied. He's dead, he's in line at the crematorium waiting to be burned right now. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line, followed by a furious roar. Chen Wan, are you insane? Why are you cursing Dad to die? How can you be so vicious? On the other end of the line, Jiang Xiaoting, as if gone mad, began her personal attack. No wonder Dad doesn't like you. Being old and ugly is one thing, but your mouth is so foul. Just you wait, I'm definitely telling Dad. I nodded. Got it. Li Jingqiang loved this daughter the most, especially in bed. What man wouldn't be drawn to a young woman with fair skin and lovely looks? She really thought she'd kept her dirty little secret with Li Jingqiang under wraps. I've known about it for 3 years. I scratched my ear, hung up the phone, then turned and unzipped the body bag next to me. I took a close-up shot of Li Jingqiang's face and sent it to Jiang Xiaoting. I added a caption, get to the funeral home, you might still be in time to watch him get cremated. Then Jiang Xiaoting kept bombarding my phone, so I didn't hesitate. I blocked her number. The whole world fell silent. I started humming a tune, and every light turned green. The driver caught sight of me laughing in the rearview mirror, and the look in his eyes said it all. he'd clearly never seen a widow so cheerful. Jiang Xiaoting is here, my mother-in-law came too. Jiang Xiaoting brought along a foreign helper, a blonde younger brother. The guy with the dyed blonde hair had his sleeves rolled up and his hands stuffed in his pockets, looking like he was spoiling for a fight. My husband is in the cremation furnace, burning fiercely. My mother-in-law had just returned from a trip, dragging her suitcase and wearing a ridiculous Hawaiian print dress. I shook my head. Mom, you really don't get it, your son's dead, and you're dressed so festively. My mother-in-law has lost her mind, asking me where Li Jingqiang is. I pointed to the cremation chamber, and she froze in shock, disbelief, burst into tears, then screamed at me, "You wicked woman, you're the one who killed him, you're a murderer, aren't you, my son? Why wouldn't you let us see him one last time?" Why? Because I don't want to see him, obviously. I glanced at the cremation chamber, almost done burning, and felt oddly relieved, even finding her insults not so harsh after all. I'm calling the police, I'm suing you, I'm taking this all the way to the top. The old lady was nearly 80, and I was afraid she'd lunge at me and fall, then blame me for it, so I quickly stepped behind the staff member. Liqing had a large population, so the funeral home was always busy. The scene was filled with grieving family members, all weeping. Hearing the commotion, they all turned to look at her. I innocently explained, "He accidentally fell from the balcony himself." There are several eyewitnesses in the neighborhood, police report and medical diagnosis. If you don't believe it, you can check it yourself. Mom, just because your surname is Lai, don't go blaming everything on me. Jiang Xiaoting, her eyes red, supported her panting mother-in-law and fired off a rapid volley. "Chenwan, you're feeling guilty, aren't you? Let me tell you, what you've done amounts to tampering with evidence. We reserve the right to pursue criminal charges against you." I'm not fazed. She's got some nerve thinking she's a lawyer just because she skimmed a few pages of the civil code. The mother-in-law and Jiang Xiaoting wouldn't back down, their voices growing louder with each word. The staff could no longer stand by and watch. They sternly reminded them to show respect for the other deceased, to allow the departed to rest in peace, and to handle their family matters privately at home. I peeked out from behind the staff member. Exactly, this is a family matter. What does it have to do with you, Miss Jiang? Jiang Xiaoting's expression changed. I'm an adopted daughter, so of course it's related to me. I shot back, Li Jingqiang and I only ever adopted one daughter, and that's A Xiang. Where on earth did you come from? While they were busy arguing, Li Jingqiang's cremation was finished, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Just then, an announcement blared over the speakers. Memorial service for Li Jingqiang is now beginning in Hall No. 4, family of the deceased. Please proceed to Hall No. 4, I shouted. That's me. I'm here, too. Burning first, then mourning. I'm the only one like that in the funeral home. After 20 years of marriage, I still made sure to set aside enough time, spending 10,000 yuan to rent a memorial hall for an afternoon, so that relatives and friends could come and see him one last time. But they were completely stunned when they saw the urn. "Where is everyone?" I said. "You have no idea. He fell from over 20 stories up." His face was completely unrecognizable. It was absolutely horrifying to look at. "I just didn't want to scare you all." My mother-in-law wailed and scolded me for not knowing my place. "I'm completely innocent," I protested. "It's my first time losing a husband. I'm new at this." In the mourning hall, everyone except me was draped in sorrow. Among them, Jiang Xiaoting was the one crying the loudest. Li Jingqiang has supported her for over a decade, from elementary school through graduate school, a fact well known among relatives. Normally, people say that among the impoverished students supported by society, those like Jiang Xiaoting who managed to get into graduate school are rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns, and can directly achieve social mobility. Li Jingqiang is such a kind-hearted person. "Today, you cried so sincerely again. What a great display of filial piety." Ah Xiang shot a glare at the gossipy relatives, not bothering to waste her breath on them. Grandma and Jiang Xiaoting wept in each other's arms. The distribution of property after death is a matter of concern, my mother-in-law inquired. I calmly produced Li Jingqiang's phone. My husband recorded his will while he was still conscious. We should follow his wishes. Since all our relatives and friends are here today, let them serve as witnesses. This recording was made during Li Jingqiang's only moment of consciousness in the hospital. Judging by the voice, although his speech was slightly halting, his mind was clear and his expression was coherent. He made it clear that he would give one of the family's properties to his mother-in-law, while the remaining 2 properties, along with all the bank deposits, stocks, funds, and cars under his name, would go entirely to Jiang Xiaoting and me, and my daughter. He didn't say a word about either of us. Oh, right, it's not like I didn't bring anything, I bought the furniture, so I can take it with me. No way, someone blurted out. Leaving your entire estate to a sponsored student in need instead of your own wife and children, it's simply unthinkable. Everyone reacted the same way, but I'm not surprised at all. Jiang Xiaoting, on the other hand, was a mix of surprise and delight. Her face lit up with a barely concealed grin. Never in a million years did I think I'd become a rich woman at a funeral home. My side of the family has gone ballistic, immediately united in outrage, shouting that it's unfair and that his estate should be inherited in order of succession. What kind of heir is Jiang Xiaoting? With a serious expression, Jiang Xiaoting explained a basic legal principle to the group. The law stipulates that testamentary succession takes precedence over statutory succession. She spoke with such clarity and logic. It's clear she spent a good deal of time studying inheritance law, and now, it's paying off. I'm not in a hurry, and I ask everyone to remain calm. Today is a memorial service, not a struggle session. It's only right to properly honor our ancestors. Next, I had a surprise ready for my mother-in-law and Jiang Xiaoting. I projected Li Jingqiang's phone photo album onto the big screen. The very first picture was a selfie of him kissing Jiang Xiaoting. As I kept scrolling, there were more and more intimate photos of the two of them, flirty pictures, and even explicit bedroom shots. The content was so graphic, I just tapped past them quickly. Many of the photos were taken from strange angles, clearly shot in secret. Everyone's going to need to bleach their eyes tonight. Jiang Xiaoting froze, her mouth hanging open in a stunned gape. She never imagined Li Jingqiang had secretly taken intimate photos of the two of them. I shot back, Ting, why are you lying in bed with your dad? Was he giving you a physical? You're so thoughtful. Are you also getting him a checkup? Ting was Li Jingqiang's pet name for her. Someone threw up. My family on my mother's side went completely ballistic. Oh, so you're Li Jingqiang's mistress. No wonder you're pushing him to take my sister's money. Li Jingqiang supported you for all those years, and you have the nerve to actually climb into his bed. You knew he was taken and still went after him. Shameless. The cat's out of the bag. My mother-in-law stepped forward first, standing her ground with fierce confidence, shouting louder than my own family. It's only natural. This is only natural. Ting's carrying the only heir of the Li family. What's wrong with getting a bigger share of the money? It's Jinwan's own fault for being barren. She's the one who doomed our Li family line, our family's money rightfully belongs to our own flesh and blood. That's only natural. My mother-in-law has repeated that self-evident truth 1,000 times. Everyone looked at Jiang Xiaoting's slightly rounded belly, thinking she had just gained weight, but it turned out she was pregnant. I already knew. Just before Li Jingqiang was taken off life support, he told me that Jiang Xiaoting was pregnant. He asked me to be generous and look after her, so I took care of her first. See her off. The funeral home was as chaotic as a market that day. Both sides were on the verge of a fight, and even staff couldn't pull my brother and nephew apart. It took the police to finally calm things down. What's all the fuss about? What's all the fuss about? Please show some respect for the deceased. I'll definitely cooperate with the police work. Holding Li Jingqiang's ashes, I laughed it off, trying to grab the ashes. Forget it, forget it. My husband's mistress wants them. Let's grant her wish. I shoved the ashes into Jiang Xiaoting's hands and let go instantly, not even waiting for her to react. Ashes scattered across the ground, and also all over her. I burst out laughing and exclaimed, "Oh dear, Ting, how did you let go of your dad? Look, he's all over the place now." Jiang Xiaoting's face went deathly pale as she shrieked and leaped back. A scumbag turns to ash the moment he hits the ground. Li Jingqiang, see you later. 3. The next day, a video titled "Poor Student Uses Pregnancy to Scam Donor Out of All His Wealth, Leaving Wife Broke and Alone" went viral. Over 100,000 views and overwhelming comments, sparking widespread sharing across major social media platforms. The content is highly sensational, starting with Li Jingqiang's last words, followed by photos of him and Jiang Xiaoting frequenting upscale venues, traveling at home and abroad, visiting luxury stores, and showcasing luxury cars and mansions. The most intriguing part was the ambiguous photos of him and Jiang Xiaoting. Although their faces and sensitive areas were blurred, this partial concealment only heightened people's curiosity and desire to peek. Who would have thought Li Jingqiang could go viral even after he's gone? The comments are absolutely explosive. What's so great about older men? How can she even bring herself to do that when they're doing it? Does she call him daddy too? This video went viral. Jiang Xiaoting also has a social media account. Her online persona is the rags to riches underdog story, consistently playing up the poor orphan angle, tragic tales of losing both parents and overcoming hardship, to her current status as a graduate student in a major city. In her videos, she teaches everyone how to save money on daily necessities and find work-study opportunities. Even the university's official account follows her, making her story truly inspiring. However, she was quickly doxxed, with people swarming her account to attack her and directing other netizens to the original video. Alright, let's move on. If this needy student needs $300,000 a year to get by, then I guess I'm the real clown here. That LV bag of hers could fund my diet of steamed buns for a decade. From rural poverty to success. Ladies, take notes. This is what real effortless victory looks like. Of course, there are also some trolls with truly bizarre worldviews. What are you all so jealous about? If you're so capable, go find yourselves a rich partner too. They didn't steal or cheat, they earned it fair and square. What's it to you anyway? Netizens are so furious they'd practically punch him through the internet. As a result, Jiang's shouting school account was hit by a wave of online backlash, creating a very negative impact. The school launched an investigation, and Jiang Shouting was busy explaining herself. While they were busy, I quickly sold my house, car, and jewelry, cashed out 20 million, then headed to a luxury boutique for designer bags and watches before taking a trip to Japan. Finally, I came back and treated myself to a premium spa session at the beauty salon. It's finally my turn to enjoy the finer things in life. My sister was squeezing my blackheads when my phone rang. It was a text from the court reminding me that the summons had arrived at my home and I needed to prepare for the trial. My mother-in-law and Jiang Shouting have sued me for maliciously transferring assets and failing to comply with the will for a luxury riverside apartment, slashed to 8 million. When the buyer arrived to take possession, they discovered my mother-in-law and Jiang Shouting were still living there. They stared at each other in stunned disbelief, only then realizing I had sold the house. Anyone who can afford a multi-million-dollar Riverview apartment isn't a fool. The new owner immediately demanded they produce the property deed or a rental contract. They had neither. The new owner gave them 3 days to move out, but they flat out refused. Without another word, he started tearing out the doors and the renovations. Even when the police showed up, it was no use. The owner's rights prevailed. The whole thing blew up into a huge mess, but I was off vacationing in Japan. My domestic phone was useless, I wasn't logged into any social media, and I was blissfully unaware, so their whole drama didn't affect me one bit. Mother-in-law and Jiang Shouting had no choice but to move back to the old house. Then, without a moment's rest, Jiang Shouting went to view luxury property developments. She put a deposit on a 3-bedroom apartment, only to discover when it came time to pay the balance that Li Jingqiang's dozen or so bank cards combined held less than 100,000 yuan. Before the court hearing, Jiang Shouting started a live stream on her own account. Standing in front of the courthouse, holding up her statement of claim, she tearfully pleaded, "Everyone, I really didn't scam anyone for money or a house. We were originally planning to get married after the baby was born. All of this is what he promised me before." Jiang Shouting wept with pear blossom-like tears, crafting a pitiable persona, the image of a helpless elderly pregnant woman, cast out by the first wife and left homeless. "I believe the law will deliver justice." Then, she bent her head and gently stroked her belly. "Baby, this time, mommy will be brave and protect you with the power of the law." The security guard at the entrance shouted, "This is a judicial institution. No unauthorized recording, photography, or live streaming is permitted. Miss, please abide by the law." Jiang Shouting turned off the live stream. Jiang Shouting was scolding me in court with such conviction that it sounded perfectly justified. "I have a recording of Li Jingqiang. All the deposits and investments under his name are to be inherited by me. It's a safeguard for me and our child." On the day Li Jingqiang had the accident, she purchased a huge insurance policy and withdrew over 3 million in cash. "It's this woman who's maliciously hiding assets. I demand her personal property be seized." Jiang Shouting was extremely agitated, making a huge fuss. Even the judge couldn't stand it, rapping the gavel several times. "Plaintiff, be advised, I did not call on you to speak. We are now in the phase for counsel's arguments." Only then did Jiang Shouting, supporting her belly, sit back down. The lawyer she had hired looked the part of a capable young professional, remaining calm under pressure. However, his arguments merely consisted of reading from the complaint over and over, offering no original perspective whatsoever. Then it's our lawyer's turn to take the stage. The will recording took place at 2 p.m., while my client purchased the insurance at 10 a.m. This was a forward-looking plan made out of deep concern following her husband's severe accidental injury. It constitutes a reasonable household expense and does not amount to asset transfer. Furthermore, my client's knowledge of her husband's bank card information, transaction passwords, and similar details indicates that he had explicitly consented to and authorized her to manage and control a portion of the assets during his lifetime. Legally, this constitutes a gift, and the plaintiff has no right to claim a share. My client did not withdraw all funds from the bank account, therefore, the allegation of asset transfer is entirely baseless. I remained perfectly calm, silently giving my lawyer a mental thumbs up. I've endured for so many years, putting in a lot of effort for the old man's transaction. Password, just waiting for this very day. Both my mother-in-law and Jiang Xiaoting were stunned. The savings are just peanuts. The house is the real prize. The mother-in-law shouted, the house, he said he'd give us the house. She sold it all. The judge frowned again, slammed the gavel several times, and told her to calm down. Plaintiff, please provide evidence, such as the property deed or transaction records for the house. The judge, after reviewing several pages of evidence without finding a copy of the property deed or any proof of purchase, turned his gaze toward the mother-in-law. My mother-in-law practically shouted, I've lived in that house for 20 years, what more proof do you need? My neighbors, the property management, they can all vouch for me. The other 2 apartments were also bought by my son after they got married, so they're his. The property deeds are missing. She pointed at me, venom in her voice. This woman schemed it all out. She saw this coming long ago. She hid them away and sold them. Jiang Xiaoting added, that should be considered marital property, half of which belongs to Li Jingqiang. According to the will, I am entitled to inherit half of it as well. She then added, since the house is sold, I'll make a concession, let's settle for 15 million. My lawyer's expression was a picture of speechless frustration. He produced the evidence. 1 property was purchased in full by my client before the marriage, the other 2 were personal gifts from my client's parents after the marriage, constituting her separate property and having no connection to the husband. Here are the property purchase records and the notarized deeds of gift from the parents. Therefore, Mr. Li's will is invalid in this regard. The plaintiff has no right to divide my client's property. My mother-in-law was stunned at first, shouting that Li Jingqiang had personally told her the house was his purchase. His own words, I'm dying of laughter. Li Jingqiang may earn a decent amount, but he squanders it all on lavish living and keeping mistresses. To make matters worse, he's a braggart who cares too much about appearances. He even had the nerve to tell his mother-in-law that he was the one who bought that house. As if you're so great. Back then, I saved face for him and didn't expose the truth. So my mother-in-law has always believed the house was his. The judge asked me if I had anything to add. I asked, can I laugh? The judge looked bewildered and nodded. Then I couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing in court. Jiang Xiaoting, do you even have any basic legal knowledge? That's my premarital property and a personal gift. It has absolutely nothing to do with Li Jingqiang. Just because his will says to give it to you, you think you can have it. So, when I die, should I also write a will to split up Elon Musk's money, give 10 billion to Xiang, 10 billion to my mom, and donate the rest to a children's charity? I put on a comically stern face and declared with mock seriousness, let the court enforce the ruling. Ha ha ha. The judge banged the gavel and told me to be serious. 5. The verdict came out quickly. I posted it online immediately, and Jiang Xiaoting got thoroughly owned, facing another wave of online backlash. What do you call this? Money grubbing to the bitter end, I suppose. That brazen attitude is absolutely shocking. I've never seen a mistress act so shamelessly, going after the lawful wife's share of the marital assets. As long as you're alive, even if you live to be 100, there's never a dull moment. There's always some new drama. The court ruled that the remaining bank deposits, stocks, funds, and the car were to be split evenly, with half awarded to Jiang Xiaoting and her mother-in-law. Li Jingqiang once tried his hand at the stock market, following the crowd only to get burned. He ended up trapped in his positions, watching his portfolio shrink from over $1 million to just 100,000 or so. The car he drives was bought for 800,000, but after more than a decade, it's depreciated to a mere few thousand in value. Frankly, I can't be bothered to maintain that old clunker anymore. I did the math. Jiang Xiaoting would definitely get over 200,000 from my inheritance. Li Jingqiang, for an average person, that's enough to live on for quite a while, but she's been pampered by Li Jingqiang and used to spending money freely. How could this little amount possibly be enough? She is dissatisfied with the verdict and intends to appeal. She didn't want to split it 50-50 with me. She wanted the whole thing, but before she could appeal, I dropped a bombshell on her first. Time for my counterattack. I pulled all the bank statements, WeChat, and Alipay transaction records from Li Jingqiang's phone, along with records of their travel expenses both domestically and abroad to trace back. Li Jingqiang transferred marital assets to a third party without my consent. Not much, just 5 million. The day I received the court summons, Jiang Xiaoting called me frantically and started yelling, "What gives you the right to sue me?" That was Brother Chang's support for me. I shot back, "Look at what you're saying, whose ears would even listen? Which family funds poor students all the way to the bedroom?" On the day of the hearing, it was my mother-in-law's turn to put on a show. Jiang Xiaoting started another live stream, this time pointing the camera at my mother-in-law. She was kneeling outside the courthouse, screaming about how heartless I am and accusing me of driving her and her child to ruin. I'm already worth millions, yet I'm forcing a pregnant woman to come up with money. She's always been shameless. She doesn't care what others think of her. She put on a highly dramatic performance, a gray-haired old woman sobbing uncontrollably, a sign pinned to her chest displaying my photo and ID number, with 10 charges against me written in bold red characters, things like failing to respect her in-laws, not having a single child in over a decade of marriage, and not being allowed to spend her salary, and so on. Passers-by all pointed and whispered. Today, I deliberately dressed down, looking disheveled and carrying a burlap sack stuffed to the brim with materials. I kept interrupting before my mother-in-law could finish a single sentence. "Look at this, everyone, after more than 10 years of marriage, Li Jingqiang has abused me over 20 times. These are all police reports." The mother-in-law widened her eyes and quickly turned her head. I added, "Li Jingqiang earns 500,000 a year, but he's never contributed a single cent to household expenses. For over 20 years, everything, our adopted daughter, daily living costs, family visits, has been paid for entirely by me. Didn't he spend all his money on you and his mistress? How come you're broke now?" Furious, Jiang Xiaoting ended the livestream, but my adopted daughter was still recording the video for me, so I pressed my face close to the camera and burst into tears. "Hey everyone. Can you believe this? What kind of decent person neglects their own wife and kids, spends all their money on funding poor students, yet wears luxury brands, carries designer bags, travels around Europe, and stays in 5-star hotels?" I got more and more worked up as I spoke, pointing a finger at Jiang Xiaoting. Passers-by turned their heads, their expressions a mix of curiosity and surprise. Jiang Xiaoting's face was deathly pale as she came forward to grab me. As a square dancing auntie, I pulled off a nimble sidestep and dodged it perfectly. I cried louder than anyone else, "Don't touch me, I have high blood pressure." Follow in the mother-in-law's footsteps, until she has no path left to walk. Finally, the security guard at the entrance couldn't take it anymore, picked up a megaphone, and shouted, "This is a judicial institution. No unauthorized photography, video recording, or live streaming is permitted. Ma'am, please comply with the law. I'll stop talking right away. I am a law-abiding citizen." 6. Given their previous loss in court, they've switched lawyers this time. What a coincidence. I changed lawyers too. My lawyer is famously known in the industry as the Mistress Terminator, the homewrecker Terminator. Cited classic texts in court, speaking with conviction. We contend that, since Ms. Zhang's freshman year, she has maintained an improper relationship with Mr. Li Jingqiang. During this period, the financial support provided by Mr. Li Jingqiang to Ms. Jiang significantly exceeded the reasonable scope required for an ordinary student to maintain normal studies and living expenses. These funds should not be considered financial aid. They were disbursed by Mr. Li Jingqiang without our client's consent, and we demand their full repayment. Jiang Xiaoting's lawyer was still arguing the trip to Europe was for an off-campus study program, and the regular transfers were for basic living expenses. I retorted, "Who sends living expenses in amounts like 13, 14 or 520, and he even adds 2 or 3 zeros to them, a European study trip with just 2 plane tickets and only 1 hotel room booked. Stop talking. It's embarrassing just listening to you." The opposing lawyer wore a look of utter disgust, but he's a lawyer, focused on the issue, not the person. No matter how unreasonable it is, he'll find a way to defend his client after a lengthy defense. Even the judge's expression turned grim. The verdict came down again shortly, except for a few claims where evidence couldn't be found. More than half of my demands were upheld by the court. which ruled that she must refund over 1 million. Just thinking about it breaks my heart for her. Jiang Xiaoting spends her days indulging in food, drink, and entertainment. Despite being labeled as a financially struggling student, she lives like royalty, showing no interest in saving or investing. One can't help but wonder where she gets the money for it all. Just as I expected, I waited and waited, but her money never came. She's utterly shameless and defiant. Let me make this clear, I have no money, so what if you win the case? You can just cling to that judgment and die alone. I'm dying of laughter. Does she not know that deadbeats get put on a blacklist? I'm not afraid to drag this out with her either. The next day, I went to the court to apply for enforcement, and while at it, I made copies of the judgment documents from both court hearings and sent them to her school office, filing a real name report about her conduct issues. Soon after, the school revoked her status as a financially disadvantaged student, expelled her, and showed her the door. Jiang Xiaoting won't be graduating. The ending was immensely satisfying, and her account sparked another wave of public discussion, with netizens flooding the comments. Justice may be delayed, but it will not be denied. Thank you, school, for correcting these unhealthy trends and preserving the reputation of us students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Jiang Xiaoting had become a pariah, ostracized by everyone on the streets, but even negative attention is still attention. Now she's going viral. Jiang Xiaoting quickly seized this sudden windfall. After her account went inactive for a month, the tides turned overnight. Her profile tagline, "A life at rock bottom, time to start over, isn't it rotten?" Pregnant before marriage, dropped out of grad school, and now on the debtor blacklist. Oh, and let's not forget the mother-in-law, 1 foot in the grave, praying day and night for a grandson. Buffs are stacked to the max, but she quickly broke the deadlock. I was lying on the sofa watching her latest livestream. By then, she had already moved into a new 3-bedroom apartment with a luxurious interior. On camera, with tears in her eyes, she said, "I'm really not with Brother Chung for the money. I'm grateful he helped fund my education. Aside from the tuition, I've already paid back all the other expenses. Here's my transfer record." This apartment was also bought with money I earned from working while studying. In the future, I'll work hard to earn money and raise my baby with my own abilities. At that moment, the court sent me a text message informing me that they had received over 1 million yuan from Jiang Xiaoting's enforcement, and asked me to bring my ID card and bank card to register and collect the money. Jiang Xiaoting's account is highly active. On camera, she confidently showcases maternity and baby products with a proud, self-assured demeanor. I let out a cold laugh. This is just the beginning. There's a big storm coming up ahead. You're going to regret this. 7. I picked up my phone and dialed 110. She blurted out, "Officer, I suspect my husband was murdered." The sirens wailed, and the police arrived quickly. I invited the police into my home. I haven't lived here since Li Jingqiang's accident. The police had already come to investigate on the day it happened. Their conclusion was that he fell to his death by accident due to the balcony railing being old and poorly maintained. Because of what happened in this house, I've never been able to sell it. Today, while I was sorting through things at home and checking the security footage, I discovered that Jiang Xiaoting had used a key to enter my house multiple times before my husband's accident. On several occasions, she brought tools to the balcony. I buy accident insurance for my family of 3 every year. It's not expensive, just a few hundred yuan a year. Yesterday, I went to the insurance company to file a claim, and the staff told me that my husband, as the insured party, had an accident insurance policy applied for by Jiang Xiaoting, with a coverage amount of 1.5 million. I don't know if she has policies with any other insurance companies. Upon hearing that, the police officer immediately picked up on a different implication: a huge insurance payout, an accident, and Jiang Xiaoting's sudden wealth. All could lead people to suspect something else. For example, the movie Gone with the Light playing on my living room TV. The police moved quickly, conducting investigations everywhere while simultaneously summoning Jiang Xiaoting. She answered naturally, saying she would just sneak into my house when I left to get clothes for my husband. As for the tools, she said she only bought some repair tools on the way, just took them along for convenience. After we left the police station, Jiang Xiaoting jumped up and down, yelling at me, "If you have dementia, go see a doctor." Accusing me without evidence is defamation. "I'll sue you for damaging my personal reputation." I plugged my ears to block out her barking, pulled out my phone, called a Didi, and left. I was sitting in the back seat, catching a glimpse in the side mirror of Jiang Xiaoting in high heels, her face smug with pride. Then, her video channel had fresh content to explore. In the video, she tearfully accused me of wronging her, wailing before Li Jingqiang's portrait as if mourning her own parents. Claiming that even after taking the money, I was still pushing her toward ruin. She twisted the facts, kept the huge settlement for herself, and still pretends to be poor and suffering. She wept on, her face pale as she clutched her swollen belly, a picture of agony. She delivered her words with such emotion that it quickly sparked another wave of tears online. Forget it, she's pregnant, and that's hard enough. Let's leave a little room for tomorrow, we might need it. She's pregnant, why would she kill her husband? It makes no sense at all. Jiang Shaoting's image began to recover thanks to this video, and she launched her live streaming e-commerce career, but she was quickly proven wrong. First, several major insurance companies discovered that Jiang Shaoting had purchased substantial accidental death insurance policies for Li Jingqiang from multiple insurers, with the total coverage amounting to millions. Suspecting a murder for insurance scheme, they reported the case to the police and requested an investigation. A week later, during a live stream, she coquettishly smiled at the top donor, saying, "Thank you, big brother, for the rocket gift," when a group of police officers burst through the door and swiftly pinned her down in front of a live audience. She was gifted a shiny new pair of silver bracelets. Holy crap, did she actually commit murder? Don't end the stream, I need to see what happens next. At that moment, I also posted a comment, "I'm the wife of the victim she murdered, want to know what happens next? Follow me." 8. Across from the house, there is an unoccupied unit that happens to have a security camera with a view of my balcony. The police contacted the owner and located the footage. Surveillance footage clearly shows that 2 months before Li Jingqiang's incident, Jiang Shaoting was seen using tools to tamper with the railing handrail. The railing also underwent professional appraisal revealing signs of repeated tool damage at critical connection points. Li Jingqiang was leaning against the railing talking on the phone that day, and then, without warning, he fell right off. The truth is out, Jiang Shaoting is suspected of murder. Jiang Shaoting refused to admit it, no matter what, but that didn't prevent prosecutors from filing charges against her, with major insurance companies also pursuing fraud lawsuits. The police called me to the station and asked if I wanted to file additional civil claims. At the station, I saw my mother-in-law again. My mother-in-law didn't believe it and kept shouting in the police station, "She's just a suspect, right? That means she's not the murderer." Jinwan is clearly framing her. "She's pregnant, with my son's child, how could she possibly kill Ah Chang? Officers, there must be some mistake. When my mother-in-law saw me, she pointed the gun at me and said, 'It's all because of you, you wretched woman, you jinx, you're the murderer.' Afraid she was trying to scam me, I quickly ducked behind the officer. 'Hey, stay back, touch me and—' I'm calling the police." The female officer I used as a shield looked utterly exasperated. "Officer, you have to protect me." She was extremely agitated, and the police kept trying to calm her down. As I listened, I learned that her mother-in-law had been camped out at the police station for 2 days, making a scene and demanding they release someone. "Listen to me, that child she's carrying is my Li family's only grandson. If anything happens to him, you'll have blood on your hands." With that, the old woman collapsed again, rolling on the ground like a child, beating her chest and stamping her feet. "The police are hurting people. This is unjust. If you don't let her go, I'll die right here." The police had taken turns trying to calm her down, but nothing worked. The old lady knew no one would dare lay a hand on her because of her age. Her voice filled the entire police station's processing area. The officers were rolling their eyes so hard they were practically looking at their own brains. I took off my sunglasses. At a time like this, it still comes down to me. "Auntie Lai, do you know why I haven't been able to get pregnant for over a decade?" My mother-in-law was stunned for a moment, then her face twisted with rage. "It's all your fault, you barren woman, a useless hen that can't lay an egg, and you refuse to divorce, robbing my son of an heir." I held up a single finger and shook it. No. I pulled out a few medical reports and said, after I miscarried my first pregnancy, I couldn't get pregnant again, so I took Li Jingqiang with me for a checkup. Guess what? He has weak sperm. Let me take another one. 10 years ago, it was still oligospermia. And another one. This one's impressive. 5 years ago, completely sperm-free. There's no reason why you can't do it now when you're young. Why should you wait until you're old? The doctor said there's almost no chance he could conceive naturally. I was afraid of hurting his self-esteem, so I never told him. Or you, Auntie Lai, if I were you, I'd make sure to find out exactly whose child Jiang Shaoting is carrying. Mother-in-law was stunned. The officers were all ears, glancing back and forth between me and my mother-in-law. At that moment, the police brought out Jiang Shaoting. who was in temporary custody, she heard it too and shrieked, "Nonsense, this child is Brother Chung's. How can you be so vicious, you wretch, can't have kids yourself? So you curse Brother Chung. I'll add this, anti-lie, this criminal case will cost at least several 10,000 for legal fees. Have you paid for it yet?" At that moment, the mother-in-law suddenly became sharp-witted. She would go through fire and water for her own sons and grandsons, but if they weren't Li Jingqiang's flesh and blood, even she wouldn't be foolish enough to play the fool for them. She demanded a DNA test between herself and the child in Jiang Xiaoting's womb. Jiang Xiaoting readily agreed. I'm quite surprised. A week later, the hospital called me, saying my mother-in-law had suffered a stroke and was admitted, asking me to come and pay the fees. I heard that the mother-in-law glanced at the genetic test report, rolled her eyes, and immediately had a stroke. The report is still in her belongings. I took a look. As expected, the child in Jiang Xiaoting's womb shares no blood relation with her mother-in-law. Pay money. What money? I have no obligation to support her. She still gets a monthly pension of 5,000, and her son gave her money every month before he died. She must have a decent amount saved up. You had the nerve to leave my number with the hospital. How shameless can you be? Do you still think I'm the same Chen Wan I used to be? Li Jingqiang is dead. Why on earth should I show you any respect? With that, I swaggered off without leaving a single cent. People skip out on bills all the time, and it's not like my mother-in-law was broke. The hospital would find a way to get their money. A few days later, my mother-in-law was discharged. The hospital called me again, saying she had hemiplegia and couldn't take care of herself, and that I should come pick her up. They held the phone to the old woman's mouth. She made these rasping, halting sounds, and I managed to piece together the gist of it. The gist was regret. After looking around, she realized I was the only reliable one, her long-suffering daughter-in-law, and she wanted me to come back and take care of her. I tossed her a nursing home's phone number. You used to say you didn't need me to support you in old age. Sons and grandsons are the real deal. Women mean nothing. As you wished. I respect your choice. I don't care if her pension covers the nursing home costs. After hanging up that call, I immediately dialed my lawyer. Add a civil lawsuit against Jiang Xiaoting. Jiang Xiaoting, she must still have a lot of designer bags, clothes, and jewelry, all bought with Li Jingqiang's money. I want her to give it all back to me. 9. I'll leave all the legal proceedings to my lawyer. The day before the trial, Jiang Xiaoting went into labor and gave birth. The police brought her little brother with dyed blonde hair to the hospital for a paternity test. The results confirmed he was the father, and he was instructed to take on his custodial responsibilities and take the child away. According to a hospital insider, the place was in an uproar that day. Jiang Xiaoting was hysterical, yelling at him, "You wore a condom, how could I still get pregnant?" The blonde guy felt utterly wronged. We did it so many times without a problem. Who knew that one time would hit the jackpot? With the help of a sponsor, the blonde guy had just graduated from university and was already buried under a mountain of student loans and credit card debt. He absolutely did not want this child. The two of them had a huge, screaming fight right there in the hospital room. He was given a stern talking to by the police. As an adult, you are responsible for your actions. You are the child's biological father. If you refuse to take responsibility, you could be charged with abandonment. In the end, the young man took the child with him. A month later, the court hearing began. I made sure to update my account information to keep everyone informed about the latest developments. The first trial has concluded. Awaiting the verdict, I've contacted a repairman to come fix the balcony railing. Handyman, could you please seal off the balcony? This balcony is too dangerous. The master knew there had been a death here too, nodding repeatedly and going on to explain how these old iron railings were prone to rusting and breaking. I've lived in this house for 20 years, ever since I got married. No one knows better than me how many floor tiles are in the house, where they're cracked, and where they're damaged. I knew the balcony railing had always been faulty. Li Jingqiang had this habit of leaning back against it while smoking and talking on the phone, ever since I found out 3 years ago that he was cheating on me with Jiang Xiaoting. I installed hidden cameras around the house. That's when I discovered that Li Jingqiang had brought Jiang Xiaoting home countless times while I was away. She even wore my nightgown, putting on a show for him right in the living room. They'd strip naked and then twist themselves together like pretzels, stumbling off to the guest room. It made me sick to my stomach. Whenever Jiang Xiaoting came over, my mother-in-law would act as their lookout. After it was all over, my mother-in-law was still grinning from ear to ear. My surveillance camera has audio recording, and I clearly heard her say, "Ting Ting, once you graduate, I'll have Ah Chung divorce that barren woman, and you'll give me a big, healthy grandson. My surveillance caught a few other things too. For example, the mother-in-law told Li Jingqiang, when she got pregnant after marrying in, it was lucky you had her abortion, otherwise, with her body that can't bear children, she'd have only one child and tied you down for life. Ting Ting is such a great girl, you can tell she's built for having children. Hurry up and get moving, have her give us a few more kids, we've got the money, we can afford it, this time, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, if we have one, we'll just have it. The country is encouraging childbirth now, so having a child is like doing a great service, unlike before, blah blah. The old lady went on and on in front of the camera. As I listened, a chill crept over me, and I finally understood why Li Jingqiang had attacked me when I was pregnant. My mother-in-law consulted a fortune teller who said I was carrying a girl. At the time, Li Jingqiang was a low-level official, and we were only allowed to have one child. My mother-in-law had always dreamed of having a grandson, and Li Jingqiang, a man with traditional patriarchal views, took his mother's words to heart. He found an excuse to lose his temper and beat me, causing a miscarriage. Li Jingqiang exhaled a ring of smoke, laughing heartlessly. The surveillance camera recorded for half a year, capturing Jiang shouting entering my balcony with tools. I just pretended not to see it. After that, I started staying out of the house more often. She was constantly coming and going. I can't see anything at all. But I purchased the unit across the hall under a distant relative's name and installed surveillance. Every time I step onto the balcony, I do so with great care. I see the railing has come loose. That day, Li Jingqiang laid his cards on the table. He said he and Jiang shouting were the real deal, that she was young and healthy and could give him a son. He wants a divorce. If I didn't know they were having an affair, I would have left him long ago, but now, I refuse. Li Jingqiang, back when we were first married, if you hadn't hit me and caused me to lose the baby, our child would be in college by now. Unless you walk away with nothing and cough up every penny you gave that woman, don't you dare think I'll agree to a divorce, I roared. Even in death, I'll be listed as your spouse. When you're sick in the hospital someday, I'll be the one to sign the papers to pull the plug. Li Jingqiang slapped me again. I had a huge fight with him, then slammed the door and stormed out to buy groceries. Downstairs, I looked up and saw him leaning on the balcony again, smoking while on the phone. His lips were moving non-stop. Who knows who he was badmouthing me to? This time there was a typhoon that day, and the wind was very strong. Then, he just fell down with a splat. It hit the awning below, tumbled onto the sidewalk, and burst into a puddle of ketchup. Great, pulling the plug on that scumbag felt absolutely fantastic. 10. I was having afternoon tea by the Seine when the nursing home called, saying my mother-in-law now requires level 1 care and they need more money. She listed my number as the contact again. I was so angry I could only laugh. I have nothing to do with her. If you can't get the money, just kick her out. 2 weeks later, my mother-in-law passed away, another one gone in a flash. The nursing home asked me to handle her funeral arrangements. I hung up the phone without a second thought. Bad luck. After a year-long saga, the case of the vanished husband has reached its conclusion. Jiang Xiaoting has been found guilty of murder for insurance fraud and has been sentenced to 35 years. Suspended. I posted the court verdict to my social media account. Justice has been served. My heart breaks for that child, a missing father and a mother convicted of murder. What a devastating start to life. I heard that blonde guy abandoned his own child at the orphanage entrance and then just vanished without a trace. Community workers had contacted Huang Mao's grandparents back in his hometown. They were impoverished elderly farmers from a mountain village, completely incapable of supporting another child. After a series of twists and turns, the child was sent back to the orphanage and became an orphan again. Others are outraged. I don't get it. She killed someone, so why is she getting a suspended sentence? She'll go in, get her sentence reduced, and be out in a few decades. A murderer should pay with their life. Decades behind bars. That's a fate worse than death, I'd reckon. I wonder if Jiang Xiaoting, locked up in prison, has any regrets now. The court froze her designer handbags and even put the pots and pans from her house up for online auction. The court did a damn good job. Finally, they executed payment of over 100,000 yuan to me. Her life was over. My life has just begun. End. Story 2. There was a girl beside my boyfriend who looked a lot like me. At the welcome party, I accidentally spilled red wine on the girl's evening dress, and she immediately started crying non-stop. Jili, who was usually gentle and polite, lost his temper with me for the first time. When Ruan, can you stop being unreasonable? I raised my hand and slapped him back. How dare he say I'm being unreasonable? What a nerve. I had been abroad for 2 years due to work. On the first day I returned to Jiangzhou, my best friend and childhood friend specially held a welcome party for me. Most of the people attending the welcome party were from our social circle, after not seeing each other for 2 years, except for those who were on good terms with me. Everyone else seemed unusually quiet at my welcome party. They were all drinking with their heads down, and no one talked to me. I was secretly wondering what was going on. There was a commotion at the door, and Geely walked in arm with a girl. The welcome party, which had been quiet just now, suddenly became lively. The little followers who had always been by my side walked up to them obsequiously. "Mr. G, you're finally here." The girls who hadn't been talking just now also began to smile brightly and waved to call Ji Li's female companion, "Miss Gu, come over here, we reserved a good seat for you knowing you were coming." The girl surrounded by everyone had a rosy complexion and a gentle smile. Ji Li standing behind her also had the corners of his mouth raised, looking at the scene in front of him with doting eyes. There was an indescribable tenderness in his eyes. Su Xiaoxiao, my best friend, loved to stir up trouble. She walked up to me excitedly, leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Ruan, see that? This is a classic case of the substitute lover trope. If you had come back any later, they might have had a baby already." Since we were kids, Su Xiaoxiao had been my closest friend. Although we sometimes fought, we would make up soon after, because like me, she always took revenge on the spot. It was also because of her tip-offs that I knew that during the 2 years I was working abroad, a girl who looked very much like me had appeared beside Geely. She was only 1 year younger than me and currently worked as a personal assistant in Geely's company. Coincidentally, she appeared beside Geely exactly during the time when I was working abroad. At first, she just imitated my dressing style. Later, even her makeup was very similar, until her face, which was originally 5 points similar to mine, looked like that of a twin from a distance. At first, my friends all laughed at her for being a poor imitation. Even Geely didn't take it seriously, but later, gradually, they found that Gu Zhenzhen had a completely different personality from mine. She was gentle, cheerful, tender and considerate, unlike me, who was bold and decisive in doing things and sharp in my words. As time passed, those of my childhood friends who had an ordinary relationship with me naturally took her side. Even the little followers who had always been with me changed their attitude and actively surrounded her. In the end, my boyfriend Ji Li's attitude towards her also changed from not caring at first to being extremely caring and considerate now. He often said, "Zhenzhen, you are you. You don't need to imitate any woman. I will always be by your side and protect you like this." Su Xiaoxiao was a girl with strong emotional appeal, and the story she told was very vivid. It was as if I had never left Jiangzhou and had witnessed all these things with my own eyes. I gave a half smile and glanced at the girl sitting opposite me, then turned to ask Su Xiaoxiao, "You said we look alike?" Upon hearing this, Gu Zhenzhen was like a startled little rabbit, trying hard to hide in Ji Li's arms and avoid my gaze. I sneered, "Where are we alike? Are you blind?" Today, I was wearing a gray suit, which was mainly in a business casual style. Gu Zhenzhen opposite me was also wearing a gray suit. I was wearing a necklace from a niche foreign designer brand, and so was she. I admit that from an aesthetic point of view, she was indeed a beauty, but no matter how much she dressed like me or how similar her makeup was, I still couldn't see the slightest similarity in her eyes. Because of what I just said, the scene fell silent for a while, and the atmosphere was filled with embarrassment. The people sitting around and watching this scene all had an unusually solemn and complicated expression on their faces. Gu Zhenzhen spoke first, putting on a pitiful look. "Miss Wen has an extraordinary temperament. As a mere assistant, how dare I compare myself with Miss Wen?" With her words, the looks of all the people turning towards me were filled with deep dissatisfaction. Even my own cousin took Gu Zhenzhen's side and frowned unhappily. "Cousin, everyone's appearance is inborn and can't be changed. Whether she looks like you or not is obvious to all. Why are you making things difficult for a little assistant like her? When will you get rid of the bad habit of taking out your bad mood on others?" What a nice way to put it. I raised my eyebrows and stared at my cousin with a half smile. "With such advanced technology, who told you that appearance can't be changed just because it's inborn? Today, your sister will teach you a lesson. Take a good look at her nose. Doesn't it look a bit awkward? And her expression when she smiles. Don't you think it's too stiff?" After pausing for a moment, I continued, "As for the bad habit you mentioned, I admit it. After all, I've been exposed to so many beautiful things since I was a child. When I occasionally see a few ugly things like you who are blind both in eyes and heart, it really can affect my mood." My cousin stammered for a while, but in the end, he couldn't think of anything to retort. so he could only shut up. However, the group of women watching around couldn't stand it and started speaking up for him. When Ruan has been abroad for 2 years, but her temper is still so irritable. I thought all the people in France were elegant gentlemen. Why hasn't she learned any grace at all? I used to just think that Miss Gu and Wen Ruan looked alike, but now, how can the overbearing Wen Ruan compare with Miss Gu? That's right, apart from having a pretty face, Wen Ruan really doesn't have any other advantages. They were actually speaking ill of me right in front of my face without any hesitation, after not seeing each other for 2 years. Who gave them the illusion that I was a kind and magnanimous person? Was it Gu Zhenjin? I smiled, swept my gaze around the people present, and simply confronted them directly. Haven't any of you been taught that speaking ill of others in front of them can get you a beating? Do they really think I have a good temper? I just worked abroad for 2 years, not went to a temple to cultivate my mind and character. Who gave them the confidence to think that I wouldn't bother with them now? What a ridiculous idea. Without exaggeration, since I was a child I was probably the kid with the worst temper in the entire military compound. My mother always taught me that girls should have a gentle personality, and being bold and impulsive wasn't likable, but I think that one's temper is given by nature, and we should cherish it. I'm not a rabid dog that bites people randomly. I will only fight back when I encounter those unreasonable people who provoke me first. We're all living our lives for the first time. Why should I let them have their way rather than swallowing my anger and consuming myself? It's better to make others feel bad, so I will never let myself be wronged. Looking at those fake friends whose masks had been torn off and their true colors revealed, I really couldn't muster any interest in this welcome party anymore, so I directly looked at Su Xiaoxiao, who was watching the fun. You said it was a welcome party, but you invited such a bunch of people who ruin my mood. Remember not to invite me to any occasion where they will be present in the future. I'm afraid I won't be able to resist hitting someone, not wanting to stay there any longer. I got up and walked outside directly. As I passed by Gu Zhenjin, I saw her suddenly let go of the wine glass in her hand, and the red wine spilled on her pure white evening dress, the bright red color being very eye-catching. The next second, Ji Li's furious voice rang out throughout the venue. Wen Ruan, what on earth are you being unreasonable about? Do you know that this dress was borrowed by Zhenjin with great difficulty? She's not like you. Every penny she spends is earned through hard work. If you have any opinions about me, just say it directly. Why are you still making things difficult for her? Strictly speaking, Ji Li and I were also childhood friends who grew up together, although he always put on an approachable appearance. There were very few people who could truly get into his heart. After knowing each other for so many years, this was the first time I saw him so angry. In order to protect a girl standing opposite me, he was now aggressive, with a gloomy look in his eyes. Wen Ruan, out of consideration for the fact that you've been working abroad for 2 years, everyone specially held this welcome party for you. If you're not happy, that's fine. But why do you have to deliberately embarrass Zhenjin, after not seeing you for 2 years? Your temper is still. Before he could finish, there was a slap sound in the silent hall. I rubbed my wrist. He really had a thick skin. Ji Li's righteous voice stopped instantly, and the sound of others gasping in surprise came one after another. Ji Li looked at me with an incredulous expression, covering the face that I had slapped, and asked, Wen Ruan, how dare you hit me? I raised my eyebrows. I hit him, and that's it? Do I have to pick a special day to do it? I think I've learned the lesson of cultivating my mind and character quite well during the 2 years of working abroad. I've also given them enough face today. If it were in the past, I would have flipped the table today. Anyone who dares to provoke me, even if they run 3 blocks away, I will still chase after them. But after just 2 years, they actually forgot that I've always had this bad temper since I was a child. They even kept crossing my bottom line, as if they were certain that I wouldn't get angry like before. This is just a joke. Haven't they ever heard the saying that it's easy to change one's appearance but hard to change one's nature? I've lived for 26 years and still haven't been able to change this bad temper of mine. Why do they think that I can change it just by staying abroad for 2 years? Just then, Gu Zhenjin started crying. Her big, innocent eyes were filled with tears. Miss Wen, it's all my fault. I didn't know you didn't like me being in front of you. If you have anything against me, come at me directly. Don't be angry with Mr. G. Her nose was red, and she looked pitiful, but the moment she lowered her head to wipe her tears, I clearly saw the corners of her mouth gradually turn up. That smile was very familiar to me. It was provocative, triumphant, and show-offy. I've seen it too many times since I was a child, but except for me, No one else noticed that smile. Of course, this included Geely. At this moment, the gloom in his eyes was as dark as ink. He looked at me as if he was meeting me for the first time, and said through gritted teeth, "Wenruan, you're really something." Even my cousin took Gu Jinjin's side and threatened to go home and tell our grandfather. It's too naive of him to think that he can get our grandfather to punish me. I was so angry that I laughed on the spot and directly said, "If you want to tattle, go ahead, you can go right now. Let's see if grandfather will punish you or me." My cousin looked at my confident expression and hesitated, then I turned my gaze to Geely. "By the way, I'm informing you that from now on, our romantic relationship is completely terminated. We're breaking up, got it? In the future, whether you want to be with your Miss Gu or Miss Zhao, it's up to you. Anyway, you care so much about this Miss Gu beside you. In the future, you can stand together openly and save yourselves from the reputation of a mistress interfering in other people's relationships. What do you think?" After pausing for a moment, I then turned to Gu Jinjin, smiled, and showed a good mood. "By the way, and you, do you really think I'm a stupid person who can be played around by you? Although I have a bad temper, I'm not unreasonable. You probably don't know that there are surveillance cameras here, right? I didn't even touch the wine glass in your hand, and yet you just happened to let go and spill the red wine on your evening dress. If you want to act, I suggest you go to an art performance academy for further study, so that you won't be unable to find a suitable job when you're old. After all, these rich men you're interested in aren't stupid. They can play with you when they're bored, but actually marrying you home would be a joke." After this indiscriminate attack, I indeed felt much more comfortable. As for the expressions on the faces of the people opposite me, tsk tisk tsk, it was really horrible to look at. My cousin had a dark and sullen face, Geely had an indescribable gloom in his eyes, and even Gu Jinjin's face was a complex mix of red, white, and green, just like a palette. Thinking about it this way, this welcome party wasn't a waste of time after all. As for their feelings, sorry, I've never cared. I just ignored them as always, rolled my eyes widely, and left a few words before leaving. "By the way, I'll tell grandfather about these interesting things that happened today when I get home. I haven't heard such a wonderful story for a long time. It's really something to look forward to." After saying that, I turned around and strode towards the door. Coincidentally, I bumped into a man who had just entered the door face to face. The man in front of me was very tall, even wearing high heels. I could barely reach his chin. He had a straight and tall nose, handsome eyebrows, and eyes, but he looked a bit unfamiliar. I went through my memory and was sure that I didn't know such a handsome man. If it were in the past, I might have been in the mood to flirt, but today, my mood really wasn't great, so I didn't care at all whether the man standing opposite me was handsome or not. I directly cursed. A good dog doesn't block the way. As soon as I finished scolding, the man in front of me was already looking at me with a red face and didn't say a word. His big eyes were so bright that they were scary. This was the first time I had ever met someone who didn't talk back after being cursed at. I didn't know what to do. While I was standing there in a daze, Su Xiaoxiao quietly walked up to me, pulled my hand, and whispered, "Ruan, stop scolding him for now. He looks like he's actually enjoying being scolded by you." When I heard this, I was stunned. There really were such idiots in the world who could enjoy being cursed at. What a masochist. But looking at the man's face in front of me, it really seemed to be as Su Xiaoxiao said. He gave me a familiar feeling, as if I had seen him somewhere before. Before I could think more, the man opposite me had already spoken. "Wenruan, long time no see. I'm Qin Yan. Do you still remember me?" So it was him. After not seeing each other for more than 10 years, he was still as serious as ever, with a loud voice. However, his movements were a bit hasty, looking flustered, as if someone was chasing him from behind. He randomly put the gift box in his hand into my arms, turned around, and strode away. It was almost as fast as someone running. It wasn't until I got into the family's Lincoln that I remembered to ask Su Xiaoxiao, "Why did Qin Yan come today? Didn't he always stay abroad?" Su Xiaoxiao also scratched her head in confusion. "I don't remember inviting him, but I heard that he got a promotion. Anyway, he's really amazing." Looking at her confused expression, I couldn't help asking, "You don't even know who you invited?" Su Xiaoxiao looked innocent. "Why should I know that? It has nothing to do with me." The moment our eyes met, I suddenly felt that Su Xiaoxiao was a bit guilty. Although I had no evidence, she started making excuses to change the subject, staring at the gift box Qin Yan gave me, with a flattering smile on her face. "Aren't you going to open the box and see what gift he gave you?" After saying this, she started helping me unpack the gift box. The moment the gift box was opened, Su Xiaoxiao couldn't help exclaiming wow. Looking at the gift in the box, I curved the corners of my mouth. It was a camera. Chen Yan was quite interesting. After not seeing each other for so many years, he specially gave me a gift. Looking at the expensive-looking lens, I nodded in satisfaction. This gift was good, at least I liked it. As for why he gave me a gift, I didn't want to waste my brain cells thinking about it. I was already tired enough from work. I didn't want to add any unnecessary trouble to myself. As for the truth, when he couldn't hold it in anymore, he would naturally explain it clearly. Since he chose to keep silent now, I should respect his wish even more anyway. Receiving a gift was something to be happy about. However, the person giving the gift also mattered. For example, I wouldn't care how expensive the gifts from people like Geely were. People who secretly sneer and mock you in the name of a welcome party are never worth getting to know deeply. In contrast, I liked the gifts from Su Xiaoxiao and Chen Yan, even if they weren't valuable, because it had nothing to do with the value but with the thoughtfulness. The feeling of being cared about was really nice. Although this welcome party didn't go very smoothly, but because of the camera Chen Yan gave me, my mood wasn't too bad. The next morning, since I didn't have to go to work, I slept until noon. After getting up and tidying up briefly, I went back to the old house. Of course, when a child is wronged outside, they definitely have to go home and tell the elders. Looking at the smiling grandfather, I directly named one by one those who had spoken ill of me at the welcome party yesterday. Grandpa, that Geely guy yesterday scolded me for being unreasonable in front of everyone, and the daughter of the Tian family said that I have a bad temper and have no merits except for being good-looking. By the way, there's also that traitor Xiao Ran. He actually helped others speak ill of me. I'm his elder sister. Although my grandfather was over 70 years old, he paid attention to his health usually. His face was ruddy, and his voice was full of energy. After listening to me, he called Xiao Ran and told him to come over. Immediately I went to the garden to help my grandmother water the flowers. When I returned to the study, Xiao Ran had already been punished to stand in the corner with a book on his head. When he saw me come in, he gritted his teeth and cursed. When Ruan, you're a sneaky person who tattles behind others' backs. I knew it was you. I smiled. If you have the guts, come and hit me. Perhaps irritated by my proud expression, Xiao Ran gritted his molars and cursed. What are you so proud of? If it weren't for Grandpa loving you, what would you be? You're not as good as Gu Jinjin at all. She grew up in such difficult living conditions, but she's still gentle and kind and never loses her temper with others. Why did you bully her as soon as you came back to the country? He kept mentioning Gu Jinjin. He was really hopeless. I simply stopped looking at him, opened the door, and shouted to my grandfather, Grandpa, throw this stupid. Xiao ran away quickly. Behind me, Xiao Ran was so angry that he jumped up and down, but my grandfather smiled and scolded me. Nonsense, how can you bully your younger brother like this? If he's not sensible, you can teach him. If you throw him away, you won't have anyone to help you when you're wronged in the future. As he spoke, he showed me the emails with apology messages. Except for a few individuals, most of them were apologizing for what happened at the welcome party yesterday. I smiled and handed the materials of the branch company that I had organized before coming to my grandfather. The old man looked at me, put on his reading glasses seriously, and carefully checked the financial reports. While looking, he cursed. Before, I turned a blind eye to many things because they were old employees of the company. Now it seems that they've really grown bold and their appetites have become bigger and bigger. I poured 2 cups of tea, one for my grandfather and one for myself. It had to be said that the tea at my grandfather's place was really more fragrant than that in other places. I wondered if I could take a few packs with me when I went home later. As soon as my grandfather saw my expression, his forehead twitched. He directly said, "Don't even think about it. I only have so much good tea left. If you take it, I'll call your parents back from abroad to deal with you." I really couldn't continue this conversation. I never realized before that my grandfather was such a stingy person, but it wasn't strange either, since we hadn't seen each other for 2 years. Old people are like children. I should be more tolerant of him. My grandfather drank tea and cursed. They said the branch company was poorly managed, but in fact, they transferred all the money into their own pockets. They even had the nerve to come to me crying poverty and asking for shares implicitly. They just have too big an appetite and can't be satisfied. They really think the company is their own. These old people are relying on their seniority. Well, I really didn't know how to respond to that. It's true that I passed through France in the past 2 years, but most of the time, I was shuttling between the domestic branch company and the foreign distributors who cooperated with us. In the whole 2 years, I lost more than 10 pounds. Although my grandfather proposed this matter, I didn't object at that time. After all, there were really few people in the family who could be of help. Anyone who could contribute was sent out by my grandfather, each assigned to a specific position, especially Xiao Ran's uncle, relying on his family relationship with the Wen family, had taken a lot of benefits from the branch company in the name of Xiao Ran. Everyone understood the truth, but when it came to actually taking that step, he still hesitated. The assets that were originally planned to be handed over to Xiao Ran were also put on hold for the time being. It wasn't for other reasons, mainly because of Xiao Ran himself. His personality was too indecisive. He always weighed his emotions before making a decision. A person who was too emotional was indeed not a qualified heir. My grandfather understood this better than anyone. If this matter were to be completely resolved, it would involve too many people. With a single carelessness, it would bring unexpected troubles. So I only mentioned to my grandfather the matter of breaking up with Geely and didn't say much about other things. Although my grandfather was hesitant about major matters, he never evaded matters related to me. He directly informed the Ji family of the decision to cancel the engagement. As soon as I got home and was about to go out to eat with Su Xiaoxiao, Geely, who received the news, rushed over. Unlike yesterday, Gu Zhenjin, the personal assistant who had always been by his side, didn't show up this time. Su Xiaoxiao casually found an excuse to hide in the kitchen while still keeping an eye on the situation in the living room. Geely didn't notice any of this at all. He was able to control his emotions after being slapped by me yesterday and came to apologize to me. I had to say that Geely was a born businessman suitable for doing business because I was in a good mood. I didn't make things too difficult for him. After sitting down, Geely opposite me frowned and said, "Wen Ruan, why do you have to be so extreme and make things embarrassing for everyone? What's the benefit for you?" I smiled. "I'm happy, and it's none of your business. You can't rely on the connections of my Wen family while keeping your little assistant hidden away, making me look like a cuckold, can you?" When Gu Zhenjin's name was mentioned, Geely's expression finally became more expressive, and his tone of voice also softened a lot. "I know you heard a lot of rumors about me and Zhenjin before you came back, but I promise that those are all false. No one can threaten your position, and you don't have to be angry or jealous because of this." After pausing for a moment, he softened his tone again, put on a calm and composed look, and said confidently, "Zhenjin is different from you. She's a girl who managed to get out of the mountains through the college entrance examination. Even if she has a few little schemes, it doesn't matter. If I drive her out of the company, she won't be able to stay in Jiangzhou in the future." What a nice way to say different. When I heard this, I just thought it was ridiculous. What do you mean by "you're different from her"? Just because I'm luckier than her, you can blatantly take away everything I have. Geely, when did you become like this, impulsive and irritable, without any rationality? Her unfortunate life was never caused by me, so there's no need for you to play the victim in front of me. You keep saying that there's nothing between you two, but when she came to me crying yesterday, you scolded me for being unreasonable out of pity. Don't you really know who's being unreasonable? I've always disliked beating around the bush when I speak. I didn't know which of my words just now offended him. Geely suddenly clenched his fists. The veins on his forehead bulged, and his face showed a hint of anger. "Wen Ruan, did you plan to break up a long time ago? The reason you made things difficult for Zhenjin at the welcome party yesterday was for this purpose. For such a long time, I don't believe this is the first time you've heard the rumors about me and Gu Zhenjin. You've always ignored them. Why are you holding on to it now? You just want to confirm the rumors and make us bear the reputation of a cheating man and his mistress." After saying this, he looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. "I never realized before that you were such a person. It's all my fault for misjudging you. I shouldn't have saved you in the first place." When I heard this, my memory instantly went back to many years ago. He was right. He did save me back then. Because he smoked behind the adults' backs and didn't put out the cigarette properly, he accidentally locked me in the storage room. Seeing the fire getting bigger and bigger, I was so scared that I cried until I fainted and was finally rescued. When I woke up, everyone said that Geely had saved my life, but no one knew that he was also the one who started the fire. Out of gratitude for him saving me, I helped hide this matter, but regarding the fact that he saved me, I still asked, "Geely, was the person who carried me out of the storage room really you?" When Geely heard this, he immediately threw the water cup on the ground in a fit of rage, as if he had been insulted. Originally, out of consideration for our childhood memories of playing in the dirt together, I wanted to save him some face, but since he chose to be shameless, why should I maintain his dignity? I directly sneered, "Geely, although I fainted from the smoke at that time, I was still conscious and could hear other people's voices. Are you sure it was you? If it weren't for the fact that your mother often cooked delicious food for me when we were kids, I would have exposed you long ago. Aren't you tired of pretending for so long? I spoke softly, stood up, and looked at his expression with a half-smile. If you hadn't mentioned this matter, it would have been fine, but you just had to bring it up, and it was even for another woman. Do you really think I have no temper and am easy to bully, so you've been jumping around in front of me for so long? Perhaps he didn't expect that I had long known the truth of what happened back then, and in fact, I didn't have any improper thoughts about him at all. Ji Li's always proud face gradually turned pale, but this was far from the end. There were even more despairing things to come. Things had developed to this point, and I didn't plan to spare his feelings. You keep saying that you and Gu Jinjin are innocent. Then are the photos of you and Gu Jinjin traveling together in the Maldives last year also fake? If that's considered no relationship, then are the photos of you two hugging as if there's no one else around and flirting in public like a rutting male dog also fake? A man like you who has no sense of responsibility and dares to do things but not admit them is really disgusting. Ji Li never expected that I would know so much of the truth. His hands, which had just relaxed, suddenly clenched tightly. In the end, he still didn't say anything. After all, when it came to verbal sparring, if I claimed to be the second best in the compound, no one would dare to claim the first. After Ji Li left, Su Xiaoxiao quickly came out of the kitchen, holding a large bag of potato chips in her hand. She looked at me curiously and finally asked the part she was most curious about. Wan, be honest, how did you know that the two of them were hugging and kissing, and like a rutting male dog? Emma, you really have a talent for scolding people. I can't help it. Let me take a break. Just thinking about that makes me want to laugh. I snatched the bag of potato chips from her arms without looking up. A man and a woman traveling together. Do you really believe that they were just going on a simple trip abroad and nothing happened? You're kidding me. But Su Xiaoxiao had a skeptical look on her face and kept asking. No, based on my understanding of you, you definitely didn't tell the truth just now. Be honest, in the 2 years you were abroad, did you secretly keep another man behind my back? We're good sisters. How could you forget me about such a good thing? Well, this woman is so bold. Looking at her wriggling on the sofa, I just found it funny. Strictly speaking, what she said wasn't wrong. In the 2 years, indeed, besides her, there were also strangers who sent me emails. The emails contained news about the company, and occasionally there were photos of Ji Li's infidelity, but so far, I still haven't found out the true identity of that person. And strictly speaking, what he did was all beneficial to me and didn't cause any substantial harm, so I've always maintained an attitude of letting things take their course. After all, there are so many people in the world, and there are also many people who send the wrong emails. I really don't want to spend so much time investigating a stranger. Even if I find out the result, it won't have any impact on me, so why waste that time? But I didn't know how to explain all this to Su Xiaoxiao. Seeing that I ignored her, Su Xiaoxiao started talking about the gossip that had just happened today. Wan, do you know that the people who spoke ill of you at the welcome party yesterday had their family businesses targeted today? My dad said that the opposing company is suspected of maliciously disrupting prices. Don't you think it's so coincidental that it's exactly those few people who had problems? When I heard this, some thoughts flashed through my mind. The truth of the matter seemed to be gradually emerging. The figure of someone flashed by in an instant, too fast to catch. I shook my head, secretly laughing at my own wild thoughts, and drove all those unrealistic ideas out of my mind. When don't be narcissistic. In the end, the only one who will be hurt is yourself. Yes, in matters of feelings, one must remember not to be narcissistic. After all, whoever falls in love first really loses. On that day in Jiangzhou, the wealthy circle was in an uproar. The credit cards of the young master of the Zhao family, the young lady of the Li family, the young master of the Tian family, were all suspended by their families, and they were packed and sent abroad for further study overnight. Even Xiao Ran, who was rumored to be the heir of the Wen group in the outside world, was inevitably implicated. As for Gu Jinjin, who was hidden away by Ji Li, she was found by Mrs. Ji and directly sent to a remote place by using the power of the company's personnel transfer. But not long after, Ji Li personally brought her back and insisted on marrying her. For Gu Jinjin, he even went on a hunger strike. A grown man making a scene like this for love was really laughable. Not long after that, my aunt who was married abroad came back on the pretext of visiting relatives. I don't know how Gu Jinjin managed to get in touch with her. She always stayed by Ms. Zheng's side, showing concern and solicitude. As for why my aunt was surnamed Zheng, it's easy to explain. She was the daughter of my grandfather's comrade-in-arms. After being abandoned by her biological mother, she was adopted by my grandparents. Over the years, they had always treated her as their own daughter of the Wen family. It was only when she insisted on living abroad with the artist she met during a trip abroad that the contact between them became less frequent. My aunt warmly held Gu Zhenzhen's hand and kept chatting and laughing. She looked at me with a very calm and indifferent gaze, as if I was the irrelevant outsider. Of course, I didn't care. After all, I had known since I was a child how this aunt treated us. Just as I was about to turn and leave, Miss Zheng suddenly asked, "After staying abroad for 2 years, have you forgotten the basic courtesy of greeting your elders when you see them?" I smiled and calmly retorted, "Aren't I learning from you, Aunt? You got married abroad and didn't even remember to call home." The confrontational meaning was obvious to everyone present, but all the people of the Wen family didn't care. After all, every time I met Ms. Zheng over the years, this scene was bound to happen. After a few rounds of drinks, when the atmosphere was lively, Gu Zhenzhen walked towards me with a glass of red wine in her hand, swaying her waist. Standing in front of me, she had a gentle and generous smile on her face. "Miss Wen, there were some misunderstandings between us at the welcome party before. Taking this opportunity today, I'd like to offer you a toast. I hope you'll be magnanimous and forgive me for any offense I may have caused you before." Out of the corner of my eye, Ji Li's gaze was fixed on us all the time. And even Xiao Ran showed a worried expression. I couldn't help raising my eyebrows. I finally waited for this. I thought they could hold it in and just keep quiet. Gu Zhenzhen, this woman, looked innocent. Even the words she said didn't seem to have any problems at first glance, but those who understood knew that there were traps everywhere. To put it bluntly, one could easily be buried alive if not careful. She was talking about misunderstandings and asking for forgiveness at the same time. If I took this glass of wine, it would be like telling everyone present that I had been deliberately making things difficult before. If I didn't take it, I would seem arrogant. Looking at Gu Zhenzhen with her head lowered, I smiled and just said, "I'm really sorry, Miss Gu. I'm allergic to alcohol." Gu Zhenzhen's expression was a bit stunned. Her gaze fell on the wine glass in my hand, and she directly asked, "But you were drinking just now, weren't you?" What a fool. She didn't even know how to take the opportunity to back down. I raised the wine glass and said with a smile, "You were mistaken. This is a beverage." The rejection was so obvious that it was almost blurted out. Gu Zhenzhen turned around and threw herself into Ji Li's arms with a wronged expression. Big teardrops kept falling, and she whispered, "Miss Wen still won't forgive us. What should we do?" Ms. Zheng, who had always disliked me, immediately stood up and convicted me without even asking. She also said that I shouldn't bully a weak woman like Gu Zhenzhen by relying on the power of the Wen family. The way she said it made it seem like I was a real tough guy. However, all this didn't matter. I directly stepped towards Ms. Zheng. "So what if I'm bullying others with my power? What can you do to me? If I were you, I should first figure out my own identity. You're just an ungrateful daughter adopted by my grandfather. How dare you criticize me? I call you aunt to give you face. If I don't give you this face, what are you?" When Ms. Zheng heard this, her expression was very complicated. She wanted to find someone to complain to, but all the people present were juniors, and there was no one who could stand up for her. Others thought that I was arrogant and deliberately picking a fight. Only I knew in my heart that I had to divert everyone's attention to our emotional disputes. Only then could my grandfather quietly uproot the moths in the company. Until later, gradually, they found that Gu Zhenzhen had a completely different personality from mine. Excerpt after all, everyone is talked about behind their backs, and everyone talks about others behind their backs. Look at life and death lightly. If you're not convinced, fight. This is a sentence that netizens often say. Recently, time slowly slipped through my fingers, and soon it was the day when Ji Li and Gu Zhenzhen got married. Everyone's attention was on the newlyweds-to-be, but to everyone's surprise, the staff of the procuratorate arrested many senior directors of the company on the spot. Each of them held a pivotal social position in Jiangzhou. As for the Wen group, it was inevitably affected, but fortunately, the losses were not great. Not only was the wedding not held, but the groom's father was also taken away in handcuffs in public, which was really embarrassing. Mrs. Ji, who originally disagreed with Gu Zhenzhen marrying into the Ji family, couldn't hold back her anger at this moment and directly announced the cancellation of the wedding, leaving no face for Gu Zhenzhen and Ji Li. Seeing the guests at the wedding banquet pointing at them, Gu Zhenzhen knelt down in front of Mrs. Ji crying, repeatedly saying that she and Geely were truly in love. Just then, the large screen that was supposed to play the wedding photos exposed photos of Gu Jinjin having sex with different men. When Geely saw this scene, his eyes immediately turned red. He grabbed Gu Jinjin's neck and kept asking why she had done this to him. Why, of course, because he was stupid and rich and easy to deceive of. Course, it wasn't just Geely who was stimulated by this scene, even Xiao Ran, that fool, was affected. He kept shaking his head, trying to deceive himself that all this wasn't real. Unfortunately, eyes never lie. Gu Jinjin was a habitual criminal who specialized in defrauding wealthy people into marriage. The assets she had accumulated through fraudulent marriages had already reached the level of being eligible for filing a case. It was just that those wealthy people had never exposed it for the sake of face. It wasn't until one of them was defrauded into bankruptcy and his family was torn apart that he couldn't help but report the case. The bride and the groom's father were both taken away by the public security, procuratorial, and judicial organs on the wedding day, wearing dazzling silver handcuffs on their wrists. The G Group was soon annexed by other established enterprises. Half an hour before the plane took off, Geely called me and asked 2 words on the phone. Before he could finish, I directly interrupted. Geely, people should look forward. From the moment you were with Gu Jinjin, there was no longer any possibility of if in this world. After hanging up the phone, I looked at Chen Yin standing not far away with a puzzled expression. As an adult, I naturally understood what was contained in his gaze. Perhaps, one day in the future, our relationship will change, but it's definitely not now. Many years later, Chen Yin looked at the girl who was sleeping soundly in his arms and smiled, saying, Ruan, actually, I've always had improper thoughts about you.